doesn't seem that big. The worst part seems like the full massive pancake.
All incredibly enjoyable though. Gotta say it.
Everything tasting good so far?
It's delicious.
Good.
Almost too good.
41 minutes left.
All right.
Looks messy. The biscuit looks great. I've never had a biscuit before.
Maybe I'll spin it. Hey, perfect.
You know what they say? Little things please little minds. Certainly seems to be the case here.
You think you
It's
could?
4 eggs.
You think you could do this?
Icy food.
No. At least he's a realist.
I can do this.
Failing quite spectacularly to involve some of the locals. Maybe they're not morning people.
I might start bringing a rag with me. I've been saying this for years, but that is pretty handy. Now, the hardest part's gonna be the pancakes, but the most fun part's probably gonna be the biscuits, so which to eat next? That's the question. Probably the biscuits.
Yeah, you know, given that we're in the
I don't know why they call it
north,
biscuit,
is
it's just
quite
bread.
Surprised to find biscuits forming part of a breakfast up here. A pleasant one, of course. If you saw the video in Michigan a few weeks back,
Looks very
you'll know
yummy,
I love
though.
Biscuits and gravy. Also, I'm putting off the pancakes. They don't do well with those.
It's a breakfast challenge. Yeah.
Could use a little more gravy.
Yeah, I mean, the staff
It looks
were
less than
very
this.
friendly.
Exactly, Arch. Just doesn't. I reckon the pancakes were slowing down. I would get very close. I
I was
reckon
about to
this
say,
is.
I'm sure
this
they would
challenge
have
would be
liked
right
this
up my alley.
Extra gravy.
I don't suppose you have root beer.
Root beer?
I'd love a root beer.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. The art here is to try and not eat the paper. It is somewhat inevitable though.
Man, she's wearing
Thank you very much.
skin-colored tights.
I seem to be enjoying this one.
Makes the apron look like a
Perhaps
mini
A
skirt.
little too much. Not many people
Ooh,
are.
it's getting messy. Ah, never mind. He was doing so well.
Now we've got.
Oh, that is
35
thick
minutes
toast.
left, but the most substantial part of this one is the pancakes.
The pants are a crime, right, Arch? Right? Oh, that bread looks thick though.
I seem to have knocked a straw off the table there and positioned it perfectly into an auxiliary glass of water on a chair next to the table. I couldn't do that again if I tried. That's magic.
Oh my gosh. 33 minutes.
33 minutes left.
Yes, you're doing good.
Yeah, but I left those that got me the hardest part.
Yeah,
I left those to the end.
They are for everybody.
Almost forgot
Oh,
about
the
root beer.
jam. Butter and
Kinda
jam on the
making over
toast
there.
look good. They're thick though.
Yeah, right. Time to attack the starch. Just the toast and pancakes remaining, and you'll be happy to know that rather than just dry throating these suckers like I normally would, I decided to bedeck them with some preserves. Got some jam on there, or jelly as they call it out here, some whipped butter, and I'm sure we'll make use of that syrup too. Can't remember what flavour the jam was. Blackcurrant maybe? You're gonna
You'd
get
inhale
an
oxygen.
idea of these pancakes now.
I can do this. I can totally do this. Whoa, okay, those pancakes are... Okay, yep, that would be the challenge.
Ginormous pancakes.
Yeah, those pancakes might be the end of me,
I need a
actually.
lot of syrup.
Look at the size of those.
It's no time to be shy.
You know, colossal though
This
they
would
may
be close.
they do have a pretty
This is the
sexy flavour.
pancakes. They're
You see,
huge.
I would argue, in fact, that's maybe near a perfect cook on those pancakes. Neither burnt nor underdone, right on the money, golden brown, which should help. I have a rather inconsistent success rate when it comes to pancakes, for some reason. Plenty of time left though, 28 minutes or so.
Yeah, I
something
want
like that.
Yeah, I do want pancakes.
Good.
Is there any chance I could get some more of this delicious whipped butter, please?
27 minutes left.
Yeah? Pancakes, man.
A box
The eternal
over
enemy.
now.
Oh, thank you.
I want sausage
Cheers.
sigil. Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
Oh, I'm good, thank you for now.
Good lord, how much butter do you need, man?
Yeah, it was
You're supposed to
Sunday
be put down the
yesterday.
colour
I'm
saying,
Bunnings.
Aren't you supposed to be a professional?
sausage
Shouldn't
sizzle.
you open the butter before you got started? You're wasting valuable seconds. Maybe, but A, I never really plan anything more than a few minutes in the future, and B, it ain't the Super Bowl, right? As long as I get my hands on that t-shirt, I'm a happy camper. And at this point, we
last
just have one
pancake.
left. Admittedly, a pretty vast pancake, but we're almost there. Just gonna eat some more butter.
I'm not sure this is the best way to spread butter. A little bit more syrup. Almost there.
Almost done.
Almost.
24 minutes left.
Oh, thank you. I don't know if you can see that, but these pancakes have little holes in them. So they're kind of like crumpets or pikelets. You know, those little thin ones you get? Taste of home, kind of.
Yeah, everyone loves a bit of crumpet. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll catch you in the next one.
Yeah, it kind of depends if you.
All right, this is
How
Baby's
often
Food
you go to
Networks.
Bunnings though?
The Pokey Dots He-Man
You
Breakfast
never know.
Challenge.
You're not gonna. If you never go, you're not gonna have it.
Thank you.
You finished with 22 minutes exactly.
I thought it was gonna be really easy when it came out,
Yeah.
but the pancakes were just something else.
Yeah.
I think the
They're-
pancakes alone that'd be hard enough to finish, right?
I know, yeah.
It was
A lot of
delicious, though.
people eat a lot of it and then leave just the pancakes.
Yeah?
They can't finish. Yeah. I can take it.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, and I will go grab your t-shirt.
Oh, thank you.
What size would you like? I think we have anywhere from small to like extra 2X.
I'll take, if you got small, I'll take a small.
Okay,
That's like a
yeah.
collector's item. Nowhere ever has like a small winner's t-shirt.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
Thank you. I get the feeling you're supposed to eat the pancakes with everything else. Not really my style though. Ugh, pardon me. I don't know why I asked for ketchup. I never put ketchup on anything. Heinz though, no expense spared. That's
Does
perfect.
that look good?
That's fine, yeah.
Here,
That
and
looks
everything-
amazing.
Everything you've ate on the back.
Thank you. Could I order dessert?
Yeah, of course. You want a
Yeah.
dessert?
4 eggs, 4 bacon, 2 sausages, 2 sausage patties. Yeah, that's just my breakfast. The biscuit with gravy, slice of ham, 2 slices of toast, 1 side of home something.
Thank you.
That I can't read.
Could I order
Really? So that's just what he. So really, it's the pancakes is the challenge.
dessert?
Yeah, of course. You want a
Yeah.
dessert menu to look at?
Yeah, that'd be great. Ooh, this looks yummy.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Katrina and the waves. Oh. I can smell the peanut butter.
His beard's looking pretty crusty. I don't think he's groomed in a while.
Let's take my 8th winner's t-shirt of the trip and get out of here.
Thank you.
Thanks for letting me film, I
We'll be
appreciate it.
looking out for your video.
Yeah, cheers, thank you. Man, that was heavier than I thought it was going to be. 4 strips of bacon.
Home fries. I mean, honestly, minus the pancakes, that's my breakfast. 4 eggs, 4 bacon, 2 sausages, 2 sausage patties, 2 biscuits with gravy, 1 slice of ham, 2 slices of toast, and a side of... If I can do the pancakes, anyone else need a nap on his behalf after that? Yeah. Getting rid of the... Oh, okay, the pancakes is gonna be... That's gonna be the challenge. Where is this? This is in Fairmont, Virginia? Yeah. Fairmont, Virginia. Oh, this guy's released a video. I want to see this. Minus the ads.
A family ate 1-year-old
Frozen leftovers for breakfast. What the fuck? No, even frozen food can get moldy. I've seen it before. After a year?
frozen leftovers for breakfast. This is what happened to their organs.
Oh dear God.
DC is a 45-year-old man presenting to the emergency room with nausea, vomiting, and diffuse bleeding. He tells the admitting physician that a burning sensation had permeated just below his chest when he got to work that morning, and that very quickly, pain started to consume his entire body. Earlier that day, DC was having breakfast with his wife and kids. All 3 adult children had been home for the holiday, and to commemorate the first morning on the day back to work and school, DC's wife, MC, prepared a little something special.
What?
DC and MC
Frozen.
were from a town where fermented corn noodles were a local tradition. A year earlier,
What?
MC had prepared a batch of these noodles for a special occasion. During preparation,
year
everything
old.
was fine. The noodles looked, tasted, and smelled totally okay, so absolutely everything was no problem. She packed them up and put them in the freezer, and they were there for a year before she prepped them
A
for this
year in the
special
freezer.
holiday breakfast.
I
The
don't
older son,
know.
Ace, really despised these noodles. Ever since he was a kid, he couldn't stand the texture. They were served in a sour soup that he just couldn't handle. The taste was always off-putting to him, so during this meal, he elected to have his potato chips instead.
Oh,
Sitting
good
across
call.
from him, and the complete opposite, was his younger sister, SC, who loved the noodles. She loved to make fun of this older brother of hers who just wasn't having any of it. Despite being working adults earlier in their career, they were still children in their parents' eyes, and they still fought like they did when they were children. To SC, her brother's loss was simply her gain. And it wasn't only her gain. The youngest, BC, maybe the parents' favorite, was still a college student, and he intensely enjoyed the noodles. He loved them as a kid, and this
one-year-old
time was really
noodles.
something special because they were extra delicious this time. He not only finished his share, but his parents kept giving him more and more. It was so delicious, and he ate so fast that he almost choked on them. The breakfast was a great time that the family had
What
together,
the
but
fuck?
finally it was over. Holiday had come and gone. It was time to go back to work and school. DC, as head of household, left first for the office. He felt full and satisfied at such a fantastic breakfast. BC, the youngest, left to head back to his college dorm so that he could study for an upcoming quiz.
Oh, this
Ace
is
had
this
to
is
head
not
out
gonna end
back
well.
to his apartment in the neighboring city, but not without making fun of his sister SC on the way out. And finally, SC had to go get ready for work herself as Mother MC stayed back to clean up, happy that everyone enjoyed a delicious and nutritious celebratory breakfast. And everything was
Celebratory
great,
breakfast.
but in less than an hour, something
Yeah,
was wrong.
that's
While she was
usually
putting
how it
away the
hits.
dishes,
Hits
MC
pretty
started
quick.
feeling bloated. At first, it was just some abdominal discomfort, but a piercing sensation started rippling through her body, and she needed to sit down. She felt like her head was
Ooh,
pounding.
yeah.
Getting up, MC tried to wash the dishes, but her legs felt weak, and she felt her guts quake and shake like they were trying to
Oh,
squeeze
boy.
everything that she had just eaten back up. When she was finished, she went over to the couch to try and relax because she thought she could sleep this off. Hours after eating his delicious breakfast, BC had gotten back to his dorm room. It was time to get back into the groove of things and study for his upcoming quiz. Unlike his mom, he had been feeling great on the way back to school. He was even feeling great when he started studying, but the air in this room felt kind of stale. Something was off. When he started coughing, he felt something move in his stomach. He wasn't sure what was going on. Maybe something was stuck in his throat. He stood up to change the position of his body, but then it felt like his insides were getting dragged towards his feet, and he could see the floor start to spin. On the chair, in a world of hurt, BC was gasping for air, unable to understand where the sudden pain came
the
from.
hell
His head
eats
felt like it was pounding.
frozen
and the rhythm
noodles?
of each
That's a
pulse of
year
pain
old.
sent waves through his entire body. It was unlike anything he had ever experienced before.
Oh,
It
God.
knocked the wind out of him as he was brought down to the ground. At the office, Sister SC was working. Sometimes being here caused her stress to the point of weird bowel movements. An awkward coworker who she didn't really like would walk over to the fridge to get drinks. This particular person made everyone uncomfortable, especially when he would wear shorts to work. SC didn't like being at her desk most of the time, but this time she felt a discomfort like never before. It started in her chest, but she wasn't sure where. Then it became a cough, but the more she coughed, the more intense the pain became.
The
And
heck
then her
username?
head started pounding. As she tried to get up to go to the bathroom, her legs felt weak, and then suddenly they gave out. In a fetal position on the floor, SC rocked back and forth to try to stave off the waves of pain quaking in her stomach. At his studio, Father DC was also working. Breakfast was 3 hours ago now, and it was almost time for lunch. When he got to work, he could feel a dull, burning sensation
Everyone's
just
getting
below his
hit.
chest. He wasn't sure if he was bloating. It was getting harder to concentrate. DC took a sip of water, but as it touched the back of his throat, a sensation rippled through his nose, and the water came right back up. A burning pain radiated through his body as he suddenly felt like his eyes were pushing out of his skull. on the ground, sweating. DC could only huddle over because the hurt was so intense. As minutes passed, he was able to gather enough strength to go to the bathroom to try and empty his stomach into the toilet, but nothing he did would help, as he calls for an ambulance, and he's the first family member brought to the emergency room, where we are now. At examination, the medical team could see that DC was in severe pain. They gave him medicines for it, but other than that, they couldn't really find anything wrong physically. But a blood test finds that DC has hyperglycemia. Hyper meaning high, glyce from ancient Greek referring to sugar or glucose, and
High
emia
blood sugar.
meaning presence in blood. High sugar presence in blood. DC never got to eat lunch, but his most recent meal was 1-year-old frozen
1-year-old
leftover noodles,
frozen
which were
noodles.
made from fermented corn and thus made of carbohydrates, which are broken down to sugar by the body. This meal could explain his hyperglycemia, but the body releases insulin after one eats a meal to force sugar in the blood from the meal into the body's cells to be used for energy. This prevents hyperglycemia, so the carbs from the noodles can't be the cause of his hyperglycemia, but the liver stores sugar as part of its normal function. If it's not functioning normally, it could leak these stores out, causing high sugar presence in blood. Another blood test reveals that DC's kidneys and his liver have started to shut down. Put together, this suggests that his hyperglycemia is because of liver dysfunction. A CT scan showed that small deposits of fat were all over his liver. At this point, doctors were still able to speak with DC. He told them about how the pain suddenly developed after his breakfast of 1-year-old frozen leftover noodles.
Isn't that the giveaway?
But as
Did he
his
tell him
symptoms
that?
rapidly progressed, they were no longer able to speak to him because he wasn't conscious anymore. And another blood test finds that he now has hyperammonemia, high ammonia presence in blood. Proteins that you eat and proteins from a regular catabolism or breakdown of muscle get metabolized in the liver. In regular function, this processing results in a chemical called urea, which is eliminated from the body through the urine. But DC's liver is shutting down. Those proteins can't be handled normally. Instead of urea, they become ammonia. And as that ammonia spills into his blood, it gets into his brain. This could be the reason why it's shutting down as he becomes unconscious, but something more might be happening. In the bed next to DC was another newly admitted patient, BC, a 21-year-old man who told the same doctors about a sudden onset nausea, vomiting, and severe abdominal pain that came just a few hours after eating 1-year-old frozen leftovers. A blood test also finds that BC's liver and kidneys are shutting
eats
down.
that?
In an intense amount of pain, BC could only focus on himself in the hospital. The floor would spin every time he closed his eyes. He couldn't look around to see what else was happening. The doctors thought that it was a bit of a coincidence that 2 different patients came in around the same time with the same symptoms, but it wasn't going to stop here. A third patient was admitted and placed into the same room. A 24-year-old woman, SC, who also presented with sweating, palpitations, and severe abdominal pain. Her blood test also revealed the same liver dysfunction like the other 2 patients in the same room. She described to the doctors that all of this emerged within 3 hours after she had 1-year-old frozen leftover noodle breakfast with her family. She could say this while she was still conscious, and it was here where one of the doctors really noticed the pattern. These patients all had the same last name, although
Did they
it
not
was a
know,
very common
like-
one. They all ate the same breakfast at around the
How
same
did they
time.
not, like-
At this point, none of them could be asked if they recognized each other because they were all incapacitated. This rapid onset of symptoms on the order of minutes to just a couple of hours not only gives the medical team some clues as to what happened, but it also gives them reason to suspect a potential outbreak that needs to be reported to local authorities so that they can alert the public that something terrible could be spreading around. The fermented sour soup corn noodles that the family had eaten is called swantangzi. Mother MC
fuck?
had prepared it 1 year earlier following the traditional process. When it was freshly made, some family members had also eaten it and nothing happened. Everyone had a nutritious meal. But when it was defrosted and prepared this second time, something had gone wrong. Food is frozen because the 0-degree temperature inactivates the bacteria and molds that cause spoilage, allowing us to eat the food at a later date. But that inactivation doesn't eliminate these microbes. If they were there in large amounts before freezing, they're still there during and after the freezing. But are they really the problem here? Food poisoning can cause stomach pain and liquid to exit both ends of the body on the order of minutes to hours. That's from the microbes. But food poisoning isn't sudden kidney and liver failure happening on the order of minutes to hours after eating the food. It's very unlikely that bacteria or fungus could do this this quickly. This rules out an infectious cause of their problems, meaning that a toxin or a poison is somehow involved, and it's involved with the noodles when they were thawed and prepared the second time. But it's not just their kidneys and liver shutting down now, but also their brain, because
What the
BC,
heck?
DC, and SC have all become unconscious. Just before one of the family members had fallen ill, they had called ACE to tell them that they were going to the hospital. No one else could be reached because everyone was becoming ill. In a rush, ACE left work. He only expected the one who contacted him to be sick, but when he arrived to the hospital, he got to the department. When the doctor brought him to the room, her suspicions were confirmed. Everyone here was family, and to Ace's shock, almost his entire family was here. Given that he was the only one who didn't eat these noodles that morning, it prompted the doctor to give more information to the public health authorities. At the local office, investigators immediately started to take a look. In less than 24 hours, they were able to get samples of the exact noodles that were eaten during that breakfast.
They were made a year ago.
Realizing that these were homemade, it gave them some relief because a commercial product would have been distributed more widely, but this wouldn't preclude the possibility that contaminated ingredients used to make these noodles could be out in the public. In the hospital, Ace was in disbelief, but it wasn't finished. A fourth patient, MC, a 44-year-old woman, was admitted to the hospital with the same nausea, vomiting, and diffuse bleeding before she fell unconscious while receiving treatment. Ace, in a panic, had no idea what to do. His entire family was in this room just hours after eating breakfast, celebrating a holiday. The liver is one of the largest organs in the body. Because of this size, a substantial percentage of the body's blood is flowing through it at any given time. It's one of the most metabolically active parts of the body because it chemically processes everything that passes through it, meaning that it needs a lot of energy. Do you remember DC's hyperammonemia? It happened because his liver couldn't process proteins into urea anymore, leaving it as ammonia. The liver needs energy to perform this conversion, but because this conversion isn't happening anymore, then we could say that there might be something wrong with the liver's energy production. When DC, BC, SC, and MC all presented to the emergency room, they had hyperglycemia. But hours after being admitted into the hospital, repeat blood tests find that they all have hypoglycemia, low sugar presence in blood. If sugar
low?
is supposed to be used by cells to make energy, and everyone's blood sugar suddenly went from high to low, and their livers aren't performing functions that require a lot of energy, then what exactly is happening? Well, human nutrition is made of 3 macronutrients: carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. These all get converted to energy in the body. We just established that every family member who fell ill is having problems with not only carbohydrates, but they're also having problems with proteins as well. But what about fats? CT scans of everyone's abdomen at admission found fatty deposits all over everyone's liver. The liver tried to release sugar because the body thought cells needed it to make more energy. But then those stores ran out. The liver couldn't process proteins anymore. Ammonia spilled into the blood, possibly shutting down their brains. And when the body tried to use fats to produce energy, the lipids backed up and started flooding the cells. All of this happening everywhere in the body, but most visible in the liver. This gives doctors and public health investigators more clues as to what happened. The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Every cell has thousands of them, and they produce energy through a huge series of chemical reactions and by exploiting electrochemical differences. Because this process is so long and so complex with so many moving parts, it means that there's a high potential for exogenous substances to disrupt any single part, shutting down the entire process. For example, cyanide shuts down electrical activity here in the mitochondria, starving cells of energy. Aspirin, in very large doses, dissipates the electrochemical difference, preventing the final step of energy production. And a medicine used for seizures and migraine, among other ailments, known as valproic acid, can sometimes stop the processing of fats for energy in the mitochondria and causing fats to spill out into the cell. But none of these substances were in the fermented corn noodles that the family ate.
Corn noodles. All right,
what
we're never
exactly
eating
was
corn
there?
noodles. Username.
When the 4 family members presented to the emergency room, doctors had pumped their stomachs. At the time, they weren't sure exactly what happened, and this was a measure that could possibly mitigate some of the issues that they were having. Public health investigators examined that fluid and compared it to the findings from the samples of noodles that they collected at the house. And what they found told them everything that they needed to know. One bacteria that can appear on corn is Burkholderia gladioli. It's found in soil. Investigators didn't find this bacteria on the noodle samples, and that should make sense because the noodles were cooked, and cooking kills bacteria. But investigators knew it was present on these noodles at some point after they were frozen and before they were eaten by the family, because on the surface they detected something that's made only by Burkholderia gladioli when it's on fermenting corn. This toxin is heat stable. Cooking doesn't destroy it, it doesn't smell, and it doesn't change the color of the food that it's on. Extremely small amounts of this toxin shuts down all of the organs,
what is this?
starting with the liver, the kidneys, and then the brain, while causing permanent damage. And unfortunately for the family, this toxin was found all over the noodles, and it was found in the stomach pump fluid collected from DC, BC, SC, and MC in an amount 33 times the known lethal dose.
Jesus!
This toxin is named boncrecic acid. At this realization, doctors and public health officials needed to speak with MC about how these leftover noodles were prepared this time, but they can't get any answers from her because she was unconscious with multi-organ failure. Boncrecic acid doesn't interfere with energy production, but
33
rather
times the
it
lethal
prevents
dose?
adenosine triphosphate, the molecule that cells use for energy, from being released. This mechanism is so delicate that there's a different toxin that does the same thing, but on the opposite side of the membrane. The buildup of ATP inside the mitochondria causes a backup of energy and confuses the body, thinking that there's no energy available when in reality it was made, it just can't be released. And this disruption of normal function causes a congestion, which in the liver manifested as fatty deposits on CT scan, but actually appears in every single organ, quickly shutting everything down. Cells can't perform any function, and they quickly cease to exist. But why does Burkholderia gladioli make boncrecic acid on fermented corn? When you look at the chemical structure, boncrecic acid looks like a fat. Corn and coconut contain very specific fats. When Burkholderia gladioli starts growing on these fermented foods, it takes these fats and naturally starts to make boncrecic acid. The toxin appears to have some antifungal properties that eliminates the fermenting yeast, but the side effect of eating this would be that it can eliminate humans too.
What the
This has
fuck?
been known for hundreds of years. In Indonesia, a dish known as tempe is usually prepared from fermented soybeans, but a variation known as tempe bongkrek is made from fermented coconut. In the 1930s, during economic downturn, people started to make their own tempe bongkrek from abundant coconuts rather than buy it prepared from experienced producers. The inexperience in preparation would manifest as a fatal food poisoning, which started to happen so frequently that 2 Dutch scientists set out to examine why it was happening. They identified that a bacteria named Pseudomonas cocovenenans had grown on the fermented coconut and had made 3 different chemicals, the most toxic one known now as boncrecic acid. When the genes of Pseudomonas cocovenenans was analyzed several years later, it was renamed to Burkholderia gladioli, Pathovar cocovenenans. This
What's with
bacteria
these names?
is commonly found on plants and soil, but soybean tempeh and grain and oat tempeh can't be contaminated.
Yep, I'm
by
never
it
eating
because
this.
none of these have the same fatty acid composition, inhibiting growth of Burkholderia gladioli and preventing the production of boncrecic acid. Although some reports have come out showing a possible association with boncrecic acid and soaked mushrooms and wet rice noodles. Because Burkholderia gladioli is ubiquitous in soil, it's possible that these mushrooms and certain rice can have some of the same lipid profile to encourage the bacterial growth and toxin production, but this is likely very uncommon. Improperly stored leftover rice and pasta can grow a different bacteria named Bacillus cereus, of which mutated forms can
Oh,
produce
God.
a toxin
Yep, store
known
your
as
food, guys.
cereulide,
Store
which
your
directly
food
disrupts
properly.
energy production upstream the process where boncrecic acid acts. While the Indonesian poisonings came from a coconut-based dish, DC, MC, BC, and SC's corn-based dish isn't isolated. At a funeral in 2015, Mozambique, a woman had brewed a corn-based, local, traditional beer to serve to attendees. Before the funeral was over, 267 people had consumed this beer, and symptoms of abdominal pain and malaise appeared within minutes to hours before psychomotor agitation and abnormal posturing preceded death in 75 people.
75
the woman
people
who had
died?
prepared the beer delivered it at 6 a.m. before the funeral started. She was not seen after the delivery, and at 2 a.m. the following morning, she was found not alive in her house.
Jesus.
One of the first casualties. Post-mortem analysis of patients revealed that fluid had filled their lungs, that parts of their kidneys, stomach, and pancreas had necrosed. Their heart had turned bright red, and their brain had swelled with so much fluid that it folded on itself inside their skull.
What
and
the
fatty
heck?
deposits had formed all throughout their liver. All of this coming from a disruption of cellular energy release due to a toxin. The brain damage
Boncrenic
probably
acid.
wasn't just because of ammonia from the liver. It appears that it was damaged directly by the boncrenic acid. This multi-organ shutdown happened on the order of hours after consuming the corn beer, just like DC, MC, BC, and SC after they had consumed their 1-year-old frozen leftover
Who even
fermented
eats that?
corn noodle
1-year-old
breakfast.
frozen
DC,
leftovers.
the dad, was the first to start to have seizures.
Seizures.
After each seizure, his posture became more abnormal before his heart stopped beating, and the medical team wasn't able
Oh
to
my!
resuscitate
Actually,
him.
he actually died.
There's no antidote for boncrenic acid poisoning. The best that the hospital could
There's
do
no
was to treat the family's
antidote?
symptoms. As best as the medical team could try, the amount of boncrenic acid that was consumed was so far above the known lethal
33
dose that there
times.
wasn't much more for them to do. In America, despite growing and consuming so much corn, we don't really have fermented corn foods or drinks. Nor do we have that many popular fermented coconut dishes. And certainly, almost none of these are homemade. But Burkholderia gladioli is in North America. It can infect humans often when the person has immunocompromise, or in the setting of cystic fibrosis, where the patient has a genetic mutation that causes their mucus to be extra thick, disrupting flow in the body. Analysis of Burkholderia gladioli pathovar coccoveninans genes has revealed that strains on all continents contain the gene that produces boncrenic acid, meaning that should corn or coconut be fermented anywhere on Earth, this poisoning can happen. And it still happens today. In Taiwan, in 2024, there was a report of a food
Boncrenic
poisoning
acid.
outbreak from
I've
a
never heard
restaurant
of this.
where 36 people got ill. When investigators looked closer, they found boncrenic acid. A chef might have handled food that was contaminated with the toxin that resulted in at least 5 fatalities. Or it's the food that might have been improperly processed in a way where Burkholderia gladioli contaminated it with produced toxin. When public health authorities responded to the initial report of this family, they quickly found the boncrenic acid culprit and notified the public. Reports of this particular case instantly reached all around the world. In Indonesia, tempeh bangkrek production was banned in 1988, but it doesn't mean that it isn't being produced at all. It still is. They can't stop local people from doing it in their homes. But in this particular case, swantangzi production can still often be homemade because it's a traditional local dish, and enforcing any possible ban would likely prove very difficult. Whether or not you come into contact with fermented corn or fermented coconut
Alright, we're never
dishes,
eating fermented
please
corn
be careful
or
with
coconut.
frozen leftovers. It's not to scare you from all food. I just want to remind you to be safe with the food that you have. Refrigerate promptly within 3 hours. Don't leave food in the refrigerator for more than a few days. Don't take it out and leave it out for a day and then put it back in. Frozen foods can still go bad, and when preparing food, make sure that utensils, the kitchen, and your hands are clean. Sometimes it's not microbes that get you sick, but rather toxins made by the microbes that contaminated the food that can make you sick. And if you do come in contact with fermented corn or fermented coconut dishes, please just check to make sure that they were made by an experienced producer. This family's case was an accident. At autopsy for DC, MC, BC, and SC, pathological findings were consistent with boncrenic acid poisoning. Fatty liver, brain herniation, red and congested organs with widespread focal necrosis were found because the toxin shut down all energy releasing
He actually dodged the
cells,
bullet.
causing widespread dysfunction and ending with this outcome. Because Ace was the only one who didn't eat the 1-year-old frozen leftover sour soup fermented corn noodles that day,
Imagine
he was
that.
the only one who survived. Thanks so much for watching. Take care of yourself and be well.
Holy
Ace was
shit. Imagine being that guy. He refused to eat the noodles, Arch. He had the potato chips
And the
instead.
complete opposite pudding to him, so during this meal, he elected to have his potato chips instead.
He elected to have potato chips. The one. Holy crap! But then the other 4 family members died. What the? Holy shit! First off, who the hell eats 1-year-old frozen leftover? A year old? See, potato saves lives. Holy crap. A year old frozen leftovers. I don't know about that one. Yeah, that's insane. That's wild. Who eats frozen leftovers after a year? I should say. Alright guys, for a 12.5 hour stream, I think we're gonna call it there. I am very tired and it's time for work tomorrow. Alright guys, I'm not be able to stream much this week. I'll see when I can stream. It might probably be a secret one. A little bit busy with the last of the NRL games today. But we'll be doing hopefully lasagna stream very soon. Keep an eye in the Discord. We'll try to post when that's happening. Thanks, Isaiah. Have a good week and good luck. Alright, thank you, Arch. Thanks, username. Thanks so much for all the support, guys. Oh shit. I'll give you guys some points for the amazing lurking support. We had a lot of lurkers today, which I appreciate. There you go. Alright guys, thank you so much. Thank you. We finally got to the temporal terror, thank fuck, so we'll be taking a break from ONI now. That'll make Minnie happy. Alright.